Right, the Japanese afterlife or Japanese heaven can be crazy. Now, my name's Anthony Cummins and I'm the author of the book of Bushido, which is here, and I'm following up. Ignore that noise in the background. That is my mobile for my baby monitor. He's asleep, so I can get a quick video in. So I'm the author of this book, get it on Audible. And I want to follow up on the Japanese kanji that we've been dealing with, if you're one of my regulars. And Scott from Sengoku Studies has just done a video on this, on the Emperor. Basically the son of heaven, and it made me want to go more on this kanji, which is it's really difficult for multiple reasons. It's not difficult to write, but I mean it's difficult to understand for multiple reasons. We've got the English word heaven, which is a place where you go, and it's nice where you go. That's the place where you go. But heaven in Japan has different terms, different ways of saying it. And actually, from most of the samurai writing I've ever come across, it tends not to be a place, but more, I would say, a god, which again is difficult, meaning a powerful force that interacts with your life. So for example, heaven's will. You know, heaven says this is the way of heaven. Heaven likes this. Heaven likes it when you do this. It's weird because we say heaven for 10, but actually, in context, lots of time, it's more a benevolent force that is a guide. And this then becomes, is it an example of the Tao? The Tao being, you know, again, people argue it's not a benevolent force, but it annoys me when people say the Tao is, or karmic, as well as long karma, is not a benevolent force. It has no sentience of its own, etc., etc., but it wants you to do good things and learn and go forward. And you're like, well, if it's not sentient and it isn't a deity, isn't God, but it, you know, because oh no, it's not God, it's the wrong term. You can't use God for heaven because it's a different thing. It doesn't have any sentient things, but it's set up that you do correct or you get told off, basically karmic response. And if you've attuned with the way you can elevate yourself when you die, and your yin goes down, your yang goes up, and you go back to the Tao, and you know you've accomplished. If not, you go back on a recycle. And they've mixed in reincarnation, Taoism, Buddhism, a bit of this, a bit of that, and it's all mashed together. So it would take far more than this video to go through the problem of heaven, but I just want you to be aware that there is a problem. And the other thing is, sometimes do we mean heaven, the afterlife? So in English we say heaven, and it's the afterlife. But with the Japanese emperor, he's the son of heaven, i.e. he's come from this domain. It's not that he's the son from the nice place where you go and there's angel wings and all that, irrelevant of which religion. It's a case of he's the son of the deity, but Amatsutara, whatever is the sun. It's not the sun god in this case. So it's really, really, really confusing when you translate it, because it almost has heaven, 10, has the presence of something that controls, and it gives you benefit. And if you align with it, you get benefits like the Tao, but it isn't the Tao. It's not a place that you go to, because Buddhism has different names for different places that you go to. In Japanese, you know, you go Tengoku, which is the land of heaven, not just 10, heaven. 10 is basically the force of heaven. Tengoku is the land of heaven, yeah, okay? So it is really, really confusing. Not only that, the Japanese afterlife is crazy as well, because they're going to be reincarnated, but they then are buried with their armor and swords to go to the next life to serve their Lord in the next life, and they commit suicide to serve their Lord in the next life. But that Lord is reincarnated and they're reincarnated. But also there's a slight bit of Taoism in there, and it's like you will divide into yin and yang, and your body goes yang upwards, yin downwards, and it all becomes, or whichever way around it is, it all becomes very, very, very confusing. So this kanji for 10, yeah, is very, very easy to understand and see when you visually see it, but it has so many different connotations in the background. And I don't just mean the usual, it can be translated in multiple ways because it's Japanese. What I mean is there's a real flip in English with the word heaven. And if anything, I would not call it heaven at all, but that's what it is. For me, Tengoku would be heaven, the place where 10 abides, yeah? Or the place where, and it isn't the sky, because the sky is kara, which is basically karate, you know, empty hand, is basically the void. kanji for sky. So it isn't just the sky. 10 is above, 10 is beyond that. This is why, to me, 10 is the Japanese term for Tao. But they already have Tao in Do. Yep. Which is even more confusing. So I haven't got an answer for you guys, but I do know that it is confusing enough for us not to quite really get it. It's easy to get. 10 gives you blessings. Heaven gives you blessings. Heaven's blessings. Heaven will do this. Heaven bestows this upon you. Follow the path of heaven. It's all righteous things. But heaven is probably the worst translation for it, because it isn't from the place. It is, and you can't say it's an entity, because it's not like the Japanese goddess is got, personified. It's actually a force, which again sounds more like the Tao to me, but they already have the Tao. Well, that's confusing as well, because they have the Tao meaning the way, but do they have the great Tao? Because the problem is Do has way of. So, for example, karate do, the way of that meaning a spiritual path along that way, but also the way you go in spirituality, the way. But then there's the great way, the path, the Tao that is at the top and rules everything. So, again, these are there in their original language, but even in the original language, there's a benevolent force. There's the gods personified, there's the saints personified, there's the pathway you follow, the Tao, and there is a way to do it. Chado, the way of tea, you know what I mean? Iaido, the way things. So it all fits in Japanese, but then you try and identify in Japanese what each one means, and it's like, oh, well, that goddess is actually part of heaven, and they reside in Tengoku, but they come down and they see. So it's all a problem on both sides of the language. And when you crush two languages together, especially with then different connotations, different meanings, and different translators, you get the gist, but you're like, that is hard to put together. So let me know what you think below, guys. What do you think of this problem with 10? And me and Scott are running a samurai kanji basically for the year, and we're trying to get a feud on a month. So hopefully this will add to the list, and please get involved. If not, have a at least comment and get yourself a copy of the Book of Bushido.